Before you settle in to watch this video, it's important for you to know that I'm giving you a 20,000 foot review of both the Z6 and the D780 from the viewpoint of the ordinary filmmaker. By the end of this video, you will know if these cameras provide you the outcomes that you're looking for. Until the Nikon Z6 came out, the idea of using a Nikon camera for video was a silly thing. Nikon cameras relied on contrast detect for autofocus, and unlike the GH5, it did not have a deep inventory of features to make up for the lack of good autofocus. Things have changed. One could argue that Nikon makes the best full-frame camera for video in the Z6. I'm going to be covering a lot of capabilities in this video, so I'm going to use this image to help keep track of them for you. And I'm going to color code them based on how well the camera performs the capability that I'm reviewing. Red means that the camera performs the capability very well, excellent, it couldn't be better. Whereas white means that it's not available or performs the capability poorly, and orange means that it's okay, it's so-so. Essentially, there's something significant missing from making it excellent. You see, this is an excellent way of visually seeing how both cameras perform the capabilities that are needed. Nikon's Z6 Phase Detect autofocus is pretty good, but it's not as good as Sony or Canon. It has improved greatly over previous Nikon cameras. For sure, the Z6 has both Phase Detect and Eye autofocus. When you're shooting video, be sure to set the focus to AFF for continuous. You'll also need to tweak the settings from the default settings to give you the best results. There are multiple focus modes. You need to learn which scenario requires which focus type. Selecting the wrong focus mode will provide you with disappointing results. This is something you definitely need to play around with. And this is where Canon gets the win. Turn on Eye and Phase Detect and do focus pulls through the LCD. There are no different focus modes. I wish Nikon and Sony would learn from this. It makes things more complex for the ordinary filmmaker. Trust me on this. Read up and practice on the different AF modes. If you shoot video most of the time, set the AF to continuous and just leave it there. What stops me from giving this camera an excellent rating is the unneeded complexity and its performance in low light. It's not terrible in low light, but it misses enough that you need to keep an eye on it. And when it gets it wrong, it goes hunting. Autofocus performs very well in good light. When shooting inside, check your results frequently to ensure that you're getting the results that you need. Bottom line, it's not reliable and trustworthy like the Sony and Canon in low light, but it's great overall. As an ordinary filmmaker, you will be happy with the Nikon Z6. It performs well in 1080p, and it performs better than the Sony A7 III. But if you really need to step up your 1080p projects, try recording in 4K and downsampling to 1080p. Downsampling is simple to do. Just make sure your video project is set to 1080p. When you drop your video into the timeline, the editing software will automatically perform the downsampling for you. Dynamic range is okay. If you want to set dynamic range to maximum, shoot with a flat profile when recording internally. Log if recording externally. It adds more steps and complexity as you will need to color grade your video. Nikon requires a little more skill and effort than grading with Canon footage. I'd personally stay away from external recorders, just more kit to manage. For most ordinary filmmakers, recording internally will provide you with great results. Professionals, though, may want to consider the competition. The Nikon Z6 delivers something that Canon customers have been demanding for a very, very long time, and that's full sensor readout. Now, while the Canon 90D is the first Canon camera to deliver a full sensor readout in 4K, it does so on a crop sensor, and the results are soft, unlike the Z6. The Z6 provides good dynamic range that is as good as the Sony A7 III and considerably better than the EOS R. Dynamic range is simply a fancy term for the range of something like light or color. Now, the greater the range, the more color or light information available. Imagine shooting your subject in front of a window. A camera with poor dynamic range will expose the subject, but then the window will be completely blown out. It'll be white. There'll be no other information there. Whereas a camera with very good dynamic range will be able to show the subject in detail, but also the window and what's outside the window. However, for most ordinary filmmakers, it's easy to deal with areas of high contrast if the camera is unable to perform. Just avoid scenes with high dynamic range. Let's get back to 4K. The Z6 delivers very good detailed results in 4K. This gives you a lot of possibilities. Simulate multiple camera angles and pan without any rolling shutter. This can be done as 4K frames contain the equivalent of 4 1080p frames. Downsampling to 1080p will give you the highest detail possible for those projects where details matters. Why can't I speak tonight? Sorry guys, I don't know why, I just seem to be tripping over my words. The Nikon Z6 provides 120 frames per second in 1080p, giving you that buttery smooth slow motion. No 720p here, and no autofocus is not crippled, Canon. However, Nikon did use a cripple hammer on the Z6 just a little bit. The results are soft video and the image uses an APS-C crop. Slow motion is okay, but not great. If you have the Z6, shoot with a flat profile for best results. None of the Z lenses provide image stabilization. Canon believes sufficient stabilization can be provided from the camera body alone. That's too bad. Further stabilization in the lens would provide a better outcome. Color accuracy is best achieved when using the N-Log color profile in 10-bit HDMI output to an external recorder. The N-Log settings provides extensive color depth and better dynamic range to record a wealth of information from highlights and shadows for more effective color grading. But internal recording is not so good for the ordinary filmmaker, as it requires an understanding of color profiles, color balancing, and color grading. These are skills that you will eventually need and have to have, but the learning curve is a little bit higher with the Z6. For most ordinary filmmakers, the standard profile provides good results in all modes rather than 120p, where the image is soft. If you plan on making videos professionally, use the flat profile and learn the fundamentals of color balancing and grading. In-body image stabilization is very effective on the Z6. It's implemented better than on the Sony, but it's not perfect. It works best in controlled movement. If you start to run and move with significant range of motion, you'll be left with unfavorable results. The video results will not be smooth. The Z6 provides 5-axis stabilization with Nikon lenses. You'll only get 3-axis stabilization with non-Nikon lenses. If IBIS matters, sick Nikon lenses, Nikon did miss an opportunity here by not providing lens stabilization. A combination of lens and body stabilization would provide a better outcome. 24, 25, and 30 frames per second. These are the basic frame rates expected from any video camera. You can actually thank Canon for even having me include these in here. I should not have to state such an obvious capability. But I won't preach to you what you should use. I created this video to provide guidelines, but these are part of the creative process. Most of my videos are shot in 30 frames per second, but I also like to use 24. The Nikon Z6 gets top grades because it provides all the basic frame rates. The Z6 uses the new Z mount. It's new, so there's not a lot of lenses available. I feel that the one lens missing is the general purpose, or a general purpose lens like the 24-105. Most ordinary filmmakers like to stick to one lens for travel and run and gun work. The 50-250 is not wide enough for landscapes, forcing you to purchase another lens. I hate switching lenses in the open. It's an opportunity to get dust on the inside. But outside of that, there are a good selection of lenses for most ordinary filmmakers. But Nikon has an extensive library of F-mount lenses. These can be fitted to the Z6 using the FTZ adapter. However, many video shooters are not happy with the results, complaining that autofocus does not perform well in some situations. It's a shame they did not follow Canon's lead in this regard and release an adapter that just works. Having access to both F and Z mount lenses without issues would be a huge advantage. As a result, it does not get full marks. None of the lenses are stabilized, but this is not a huge concern as the in-body image stabilization provides sufficient results. We recommend sticking to the Z mount lenses for best autofocus performance and quietness of operation, but then I'm biased. I always stick to manufacturer lenses. I often find that they make less noise and are always 100% compatible in video modes. It has zebras. They are only available in video mode, but for this channel, that's our main concern. It would be nice if they were available all the time, but just remember, those poor folks at Canon don't even get them in the R. Canon did add focus peaking to their EOS R, and we have it too in the Z6. I've read some complaints that it's only available in manual mode, but hey, isn't that kind of where we need it? I'm trying to cut through the noise. For the ordinary filmmaker, having peaking or focus peaking in zebras is great, but for most ordinary filmmakers, it can take years before you advance to the point where you're ready to play with such features, but rest assured, eventually you will want them, and the Z6 has you covered. Z6 have you covered. That sounds better, doesn't it? Oh, I'm having a rough night. Nikon gives you two options for delivering time-lapse movies in up to 4K. Shoot up to 10,000 full resolution stills using the internal timer. Then manually combine them together in software to make a movie. Now, this is more work, but you'll get better control over the results. Create a time-lapse movie in camera with exposure smoothing and extended low light metering range. I'd suggest trying this out in the camera first. This will give you a better idea of its limitations so you know what capabilities you will want, if any, in the software. The Z6 is capable of producing great results in photos. It's capable of producing up to 12 frames per second in burst mode, which is sufficient for most ordinary filmmakers. I'd be happy with 7. Since I began shooting video, I'd say that I only spend about 5% of my time shooting photos at best. And 24.5 megapixels is not huge, but you'll get files that are manageable, that will work in most scenarios. Most really good video cameras don't have high megapixel sensors. No flip screen on the Z6. It has a tilt screen, which does save the day. As a filmmaker, having a flip or tilt screen makes life a lot easier. Don't listen to people that say you don't need it. I can't imagine shooting without one. A flip screen would be better, so partial marks here. I could not let this slide, no. Nikon decided in their infinite wisdom to give us a single XQD slot. I wish I could give them a negative score on this one. In fact, I will, because it's my channel. Not only did we not get dual SD cards, but they thought, hey, let's give them the expensive XQD card for no apparent good reason. XQD cards are about 4 times the price of an ordinary SD card. There's no need for XQD. You can shoot 4K 30 using a UHS-1 card. You really can. I have shot up to 500 megabits per second on a high-speed UHS-1 card. I mean, they could have at least given us UHS-2 cards, which are still cheaper. What were they thinking? Gun, foot, shoot, mouth? I don't know. Nikon just announced the D780. I know I've kept quiet on this until now. The video capabilities are very close match to the Z6. If you actually take a close look, you will see that the D780 is actually a DSLR version of the Z6. And while there are some minor differences, both cameras offer the same capabilities. The main difference from a capability viewpoint is the lens mount. With the DSLR, the D780, you get access to the f-mount lenses. You get more options, but you will not have access to all the new lenses. The Z6 gives you access to the modern Z-mount lens. If you have an existing inventory of lenses, the D780 makes a logical choice. If you do not have any lenses at all, consider the capability map and look at the cameras from other manufacturers to see which is the best camera for you. You might even consider ease of use as a capability too. If you have any questions about this video, please drop me a question or even comment down below. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. If you would like to get notifications of new videos as soon as they come out, click on subscribe, followed by notification, that little bell icon, and click all, and you will receive a notification each time. I also appreciate you guys subscribing to my channel. It really encourages me to keep producing new content. Thank you very much, and if I haven't said it to you already, Happy New Year. We'll see you soon.